Kevalashtakam ki jai. So we have seen the text 1 in the previous days, and in between we took a gap of almost 2 days, and then we are coming to text 2. So text 2 is very, very wonderful. This will actually increase our faith. And like every time, I will begin in English, and then based upon time, either I'll continue with Telugu or Raghunath Puridas Prabhu will take Hindi. So while I was preparing for this, one of the hard hit or the realization what I got is that we all underestimate the holy name so much that we actually miss out the taste, we miss out the value of the holy name. So even whatever knowledge we have, whatever understanding we have about holy name, whatever power we have realized about holy name, still we can confidently say that we always underestimate the holy name. Okay, so we'll try to explore through this Kevalashtakam the power of holy name, the taste of holy name, and how much auspiciousness it can bring. So we have already discussed in text 1 that it is Madhuram Madhure Bhopi. It is sweeter, and among all the sweet things, it is more sweeter. And we have also seen that Mangalebhyopi Mangalam. So many things are there which can bring auspiciousness in our life, but holy name is the best among them. So what kind of auspiciousness it can bring? It gives us the liberation from the material existence, and it gives us the liberation so that we can love Krishna. And then we have seen Pavanam Pavanebhyopi. So there are many things which can actually give us purification, but the holy name is the best among that. So holy name is pure, but also it is purifying. So we have spoke like, there can be many things which can be pure, but they may not give purification. Like there can be pure gold, pure diamond, or whatever it is, but it cannot give us purification. And similarly, in Krishna consciousness, there are multiple ways to get purification, like, having the darshan of the deities and going to the dham and doing some service. So all those are purifying, but the holy name is the best among all purifiers. Pavanam Pavanebhyopi Hare Naam Eva Kevalam. Eva and Kevala, certainly and only. And holy name is everything. So in the text 2, we will start by looking at, we'll just recite first and we'll go with the translation, and then we'll go on with the explanation. So it says, Abrahma Stambha Paryantam Sarvam Mayamayam Jagata Satyam Satyam Punaha Satyam Hare Nameva Kevalam. Brahma Stambha Paryanta. The entire universe, from exalted Brahma down to the lowly clump of a grass, is a product of the illusory energy of the Supreme Lord. The only thing that is reality, again I say reality, the holy name of Sri Hari alone is everything. So we'll try to see the meaning also by word. Brahma means Lord Brahma. Okay, and Stambha also means like a stump of tree. So when we cut the complete tree, whatever remains, that is stump. And it is also known as a clump of grass or a blade of grass. So from Brahma, from Lord Brahma to the blade of grass, Sarva Maya Mayam Jagat is full of Maya. Satyam Satyam Punaha Satyam. So what is the only truth? That is Hare Namaiva Kevalam. Holy name is everything. So in general, when we are walking on a road and we see that, on our left, there is only one-story building. Okay, only one floor is there. And on our right, we see that is like 20, 30 or 40 floors or 50 floors building is there. So when we are walking on the road, when we compare this one floor building to this 50 floors building, the difference is very huge, right? Now, but imagine that we are flying in a flight, okay, and we are just flying above these two buildings. Then the difference between these two buildings is actually inconsequential. What to speak of inconsequential, we actually doesn't even notice that also. So some of us might have traveled through flight. When we are traveling in an aeroplane, we see everything as a small only. Okay, so what is 50-story building? What is first floor? We cannot make any huge difference. Only when we are walking on a road, we can make the difference. So what happens is, in our life, in this material world, there are dualities. There are people who are poor, there are people who are wealthy. Some people are good looking, some people are not so good looking, some are very intelligent, some are not so intelligent, some are healthy, some are unhealthy. So many differences are there, dualities are there. So they actually make a huge impact in our life. What to speak of huge impact, sometimes they become life defining. If I am born in a poor family, then by seeing the situations of poor family, I might get a purpose of my life, the whole purpose of my life, that I want to become a rich person. If I am not so good looking and if I falling through some insult and all, then sometimes this will actually drive me to take up the purpose, like, all my life I want to do something so that I can become good looking. Maybe I'll go to gym, I'll do something, I'll apply cream, whatever I do, and I want to prove that I can become good looking. So what happens is, most of the times these differences, like these dualities of poor, wealthy, good looking, not so good looking, healthy, unhealthy and all, these can also become the purpose of our life. Actually the purpose of life is to get out of this world, but sometimes these differences makes us so absorbed that we will start feeling like the whole purpose is from not special to become special person, right? If someone is fat, sometimes their whole purpose becomes like, I have to become thin, I have to become lean, and that becomes my purpose of life. So I'm not so special as of now in my condition, and my whole life is determined to become special. Okay, and what is that special? Not like something spiritual, but only material. So these dualities are actually what they are doing. They actually consume all our consciousness. Now the thing what we have to understand is, whether we are in a lower material position or a higher material position, just like how in India, we are a democratic country. Okay, all have rights, right of speech and everything. So it being said, like in a democratic country, the government or the government officials will see everyone as equal. Okay, the poor man, the rich man, everyone as equal. Now similarly, the miseries of this world are actually democratic. They don't see whether you are poor or wealthy. They don't see whether you are good looking or not so good looking. They don't see whether you are healthy or unhealthy. The miseries will definitely come upon you. There is nowhere mentioned in Shastras like, birth, death, old age, and disease will not come to rich people. Birth, death, old age, and disease doesn't come to the healthy people. It is not written there. So all this are gonna come in everyone's life. So some people, they think like when they are poor, it's like, the person who is not wearing a crown. Okay, then he might think, I'm very poor, I don't wear a crown, and I'm just deprived of so many luxuries and enjoyments in my life. So the person who doesn't have a crown have a misery that he feels like he's deprived. But the person, let us say, who is a king, who wearing the crown, now his problem is that some person may come and just chop my head because he wanted the crown. So whether there is a person without crown or a person with crown, both have different kinds of miseries, but yet they are not free from the miseries. So uneasy head is the head that wears the crown. So even the people who have a lot of money, they are not happy. They are also miserable. The type of misery is different, but they are still miserable. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita in 18:15 that this world is dukkhalayam ashashvatam. And similarly, he says in the 9.33 that anityam asukham lokomam. So this world is actually temporary, and here you cannot find happiness. So that is why what he says, prapya bhajaswamam. So somehow you have come into this world, just worship me and go beyond this world. Okay, don't try to find happiness in this world, because this is dukkhalayam and this is anityam and it is asukham. And even in the 8.16, Krishna says, Abrahma bhuvana loka punaravartino Arjuna. Even if you go to the planet of Brahma, the Brahmaloka, still you have to come down. And this going up and coming down will just keep on going on. And wherever you go, you cannot find happiness. So what this mean? Does it mean that, we should neglect our material life? Does it mean that we have to give up our ambitions, material ambitions and all? No, we all are given some good skills, some knowledge, some intelligence where we can contribute. Yes, we can pursue our material ambitions. But if our material ambitions are consuming all our consciousness, then that becomes a problem. So what we are doing, if we think that, the goal of my whole life is to achieve something material, and that is the only goal, and for that I am ready to sacrifice anything, even my morality, even my spirituality, then what we are doing is we are cheating ourselves. Because if we are only pursuing material ambitions, then we will not be able to have happiness. So just like, the success in one aspect of life cannot compensate failure in another aspect of life. We see some of the business people, some of the great professionals, who grow very rapidly in their job, in their business and all, and they reach to a very high position materially. But to do that, what happens is they compromise on their relationships. They may not be able to give time to their family. They are not able to attend their children. They're not able to, maintain the relationships and all. And what happens? They have succeeded to achieve great position in a job, in a business, or in kinds of money. But what they lost the relationships. And just this success in money cannot compensate the failure in the relationships. So similarly, we can have material ambitions, but that doesn't mean that we compromise on our spiritual life. Because the problem is that, this material things, they offer some pleasure to us, okay, but they offer very little pleasure, and because of that we want them more and more. So no matter how many things we actually acquire, we will not be happy. We will still want it more and more. So the material things give us pleasure, but that is very little, and it can never provide that which can spirituality can provide. So no matter how much we advance materially, what kind of benefits we will get through spiritual advancement, that cannot be compensated with material advancement. So we have a responsibility to take care of our material things. We have a responsibility to perform in our job, perform in our business, perform in our family. Yet we also have to take care of our spiritual life. Otherwise, what will happen? We will never be happy. We'll never be joyful. We'll never be satisfied in the life. So spiritual life is not an option. Okay, like, okay, if I have time, I will take it. No, we have to take it always, because that is compulsory, that is must. Because bhakti is not part of life. Actually, our life is part of our bhakti. So for many lifetimes, we are actually continuing to complete our quota of bhakti 100%, so that we can go beyond this world. So it is not that in this life we are practicing bhakti. No, for practicing bhakti, this life is given. So there is a something called as in psychology anxiety epidemic. So the psychologists, what they told, just like, AIDS epidemic, cancer epidemic. So like that, we have something called as anxiety epidemic. That means everyone is actually falling for anxiety. So generally what happens is, when the things are uncertain, okay, when you don't know the future, then anxiety will come. So generally, let us say you have to catch a flight, and it is at 7 o'clock, and you are starting from your home at 6 o'clock, and you know that the distance of your home to airport is 45 minutes. Now you will be anxious, because I have to reach to the airport, I have to do the check-in, I have to take the boarding pass, I have to go through the security check, and I have to catch the flight. At least I should reach 30 minutes before, and I have already started late. So I don't know whether I'll reach or not, whether I'll catch my flight or not. So when there are things are uncertain, you don't know what will happen. That time, what will happen? Anxiety will be there. So anxiety is generally caused by uncertainties of the outer world. But what psychologist has found, that it is not only that outer uncertainty is causing anxiety, but the anxiety can be caused because of inner instability also. Now, why we have to look at this another aspect? Because in this anxiety there is a peculiar characteristics. That means a very variety of things. So generally, when there is high uncertainty, we should have anxiety. Okay, so that is natural. But if there is certainty, then the anxiety level should come down, isn't it? So for example, in general, there are only two categories of this world. That is, one is developed countries and the other are developing countries. So just like India, China and all, those are like developing countries, and US, UK and all like developed countries. So generally in India, okay, in some of the places at least, when we open the tap, okay, there is no guarantee that water will come. When we switch on the light, there is no guarantee that the light will switch on, because sometimes power will be there, sometimes power will not be there. But when you compare to the US or UK, where the countries are developed, you are very certain that you open a tap, water will come. You switch on the light, light will come. So it is more organized and it is more predictable and certainty is more. So generally, anxiety level in those countries has to be low. And anxiety in this developing countries, where when you switch on, when you open the tap, water may come, may not come, then the anxiety should be more. But the peculiar characteristic is that in India or China or this developing countries, the anxiety level is less. And in the developed countries, only the anxiety level is high. And more variety thing, what it says is that people who are living in the developing countries, okay, when they are living in the developing countries, the anxiety level is low. But when those same people go to the developed countries, their anxiety level also goes high. So why it is happening? Because we start consuming our whole consciousness only to pursue material things. So if our whole self identity, self worth is identify, it is being determined only by what all material possessions and positions I have, then what will happen? Our anxiety will always go high. So though we are going to a developed country where everything is certain, like switching on the light or opening the tap of water, these things are stable. But the problem there is the materialistic worldview is more and more. No matter how much spiritual you are, if you do not have money, if you do not have position, if you do not have possessions, then your life is waste. Okay, so if our self-worth, self-identity is based on material things, then no matter how many material achievements we have, we still will have anxiety. And the problem with this material things is the nature of the material things is that they're always uncertain. So anytime it can change, anytime we can lose them, anytime we can gain them. So those are impermanent. So if our life is based on what is impermanent, what is the thing without any guarantee, then what will happen? Our life will become filled with anxieties. So what we have to do, that we have to understand that from the transcendental perspective, from the ultimate perspective, no matter how many material positions we have or possessions we have, it doesn't make a great difference. If we are only living in a materialistic world with a materialistic worldview, then what will happen? We will see this difference. Okay, if I have a house, then only I'll be respected. If I do not have a house, I'll not be respected. If I'm not a manager, if I do not have a car, I'll not be respected. So all these differences will be there only when we see from the materialistic perspective. But when we see from the ultimate bhakti perspective, then all these positions and possessions doesn't matter much. So when we understand that Brahma Stambha Paryanta, so what it is telling is that even becoming Brahma can actually doesn't make you the happy. So when we talk about this verse, some people might mistake like Brahma Stambha Paryanta Sarva Maya Mayam Jagat. That means, is that Lord Brahma is also Maya? No, Lord Brahma is a pure devotee. But if we start thinking that if I become Brahma, then I will be happy, then that kind of thinking is actually Maya. So material things are not Maya. The problem is when we start thinking that material things will give me happiness, that is actually Maya. So there is no problem in having material things. But if we start, because in our life we need material things, we cannot deny that I can live without money, I can just survive without anything. We are not at that level. Okay, and we are not supposed to live like that also. So material things are important, but those are the material things are functional necessities. To function in this material world, we need material things. But if we start making this functional necessity as the source of happiness, that means why I am having this thing, because I think that I will become happy through that. Now, not only that we are making our functional necessities as source of happiness, we are also making them as the only source of happiness. If I achieve this, then only I can be happy. No matter how many other things I achieve, I will not be happy. I want this thing to be in my life, then only I will be happy. So if we are making our life like that, then we'll never be happy, because the nature of this material things is they keep on changing. No matter how much we achieve, we will not be able to have that. So generally, why this kind of mentality is developing in our world, Because the corporate leaders, what they're doing is, they think that it is not people's responsibility to decide what they need. They think it is your responsibility to decide what they need. So what they tell to their marketers, they say like, people doesn't know what they want. Okay. And if you just do the business thinking that, whether people need this or not, then we cannot do the business. So you decide, you create a propaganda, you do advertisement in such a way that they should feel that, I need this product. Okay, if I don't have this product, my life is waste. Like that, the advertisement will happen. And because of this, what will happen? We generally don't read scriptures, we don't go to any spiritual guru, we don't have any spiritual practices. Then all these advertisements, all this marketing propaganda will become our world. And we'll start thinking, if I don't have this, my life is waste. Like this, we start cheating ourselves. So what happens when we start chanting is that we slowly start to come out of the spell of this mind. Okay, maybe all these things are important. Okay, but if I see from the ultimate perspective, then that things, all those things which I wanted to achieve, may not make much difference. Yes, I can achieve these things, but they are not the only things that I have to achieve. So when we understand Abrahmastambha Paryantam Sarva Maya Mayam Jagat, we don't let our consciousness get absorbed in only material things. Okay. So while we are chanting, many things will come in our mind. Okay, that thing might be important. This thing is important. I have to achieve this. I have to do that. I have to do that. Okay, fine. Those all things are important. But from the ultimate perspective, those things need not be worked out right now. So I cannot, I don't need to give up my chanting, give up my spiritual practices only to go and work on them. Yes, they might be important in my life. They need my time. I have to invest time and I have to work it out. But I can stop now and I can do them later. So let me focus on chanting. So bhakti doesn't require us to give up everything else for Krishna's sake, which other paths like, Jnana Yoga, you have to give up everything and all, and you have to go to the forest and practice everything. So we are not practicing that kind of spiritual life. We are practicing Bhakti Yoga. What it requires us to do? It says that, don't give up everything, but let everything else wait. So that means when we are chanting, we are trying to focus on Krishna. And when we are trying to focus on Krishna, everything else can wait. Okay, we need not deny them, but we can tell them, wait. Okay, I will deal with that issue, but not now. Once after chanting, I can deal with that issue. Okay, that thing is important. I have to deal with that. But as of now, let me chant. So what our mind does with us is, it has one tendency called as, it eternalizes the present. So it keeps our problem in front of us so much big that, we feel like now nothing is important. Solving this problem is the only thing that is important. So because of that, what we'll do, we'll just keep everything aside and we'll start working on this problem. So generally, if we look back 6 months back, 1 year back, or 5 years back, if we look at our problems, when the problem was in front of our eyes, it looks so big. But as we move on in our life, we will see that, for that problem 5 years back, I have actually wasted a lot of time and energy. It was not so. It was not so worth. I could have not taken that much tension for that problem. So what happens is, mind, it will actually eternalize everything. That means this problem, if you don't solve now, it will be there forever. Like that impression it will create. So when we are chanting, what happens is, just like when you are flying from the aeroplane, we will see the 50-story building and first floor building as almost equal or insignificant. Similarly, when we start chanting, our perspective will change. We'll start seeing the world not from materialistic perspective, but from the ultimate perspective. And because of that, no matter what is our problem, it will start looking small only. Okay. And the holy name looks big. So when we are actually connecting to Krishna, we are connecting to the eternal reality. That truly, if something is eternal, then that is holy name. So when we are connecting with that, what is truly eternal, then even if mind try to eternalize our problem, even it tries to show our problem as big, but the holy name is so big Just like, when we are flying in an aeroplane, even the biggest skyscrapers, like even the Burj Khalifa also looks small only, right? So similarly, when we are chanting the holy name, our problem size will come down. And through the chanting, we'll get the energy to deal with this problem. Sometimes, we try to chant so that we can solve some problems. So we think that, by chanting the holy names, I can be able to solve the problem. And while chanting also, we are not Krishna conscious, we are problem conscious. Why I'm chanting? Because I want to solve this problem. So yes, Krishna has the potency to solve our problem. But if we have this kind of attitude, like I want to chant because I want to, solve my problem, then we will actually forget in this process that holy name is not only the means to solve a problem, but it is the solution itself. That means this problem, whatever is there, in this material world, even if we solve this, we have no guarantee that other problems won't come. So let us not chant to solve some problem. Let us chant so that we can solve the ultimate problem, that we are here. Okay, because this holy name can take us beyond this world. So let us chant for that. Let us chant so that we can love Krishna, not that we want to solve the small problems and all. So when we are chanting, when we have this understanding, we will not let our consciousness go here and there. We'll try to focus on chanting. So the notion that this world is for enjoyments, this world can solve my problems, Maya actually. Okay. But our notion that, I can be happy here, I can solve my problems and all, that is actually Maya. So if we see the Gajendra pastime, initially, he tried on his own to get out of the clutches of that crocodile. Okay. It caught his leg, and for 1,000 years he actually fought, but he could not able to release himself. Then he remembered the Lord and he started praying. So while praying, he started the prayers so that he can get released from this crocodile. Because Lord, I'm just getting painful for the because of this crocodile, I'm not able to do anything, please release me from this crocodile. That was the initial consciousness. But as he moved on to in his prayers, what he realized, actually my problem is not crocodile, my problem is the material life which actually caught me. And because of that only I am here, and because of that only this crocodile came and caught me. So actually the problem is not this crocodile, but this material life itself, which is actually caught me over here. So, oh Lord, not only you release me from this crocodile, actually you have to release me from this material world. So our consciousness will expand. So today we might be thinking about our problems, and we might be chanting that, I might solve this problem and that problem. No, but as you move on in chanting, as your chanting becomes more and more pure, what we will realize is that actual problem that we have is not this problem, financial problem, relationship problem, job problem, career problem. No, not all this problem. The problem is that we are here. We are not supposed to be here in this material world, and we have to go back home, back to Godhead. So that kind of realization will start setting into. So holy name actually releases us from all the misconceptions of this world. It releases us from the materialistic conceptions of the world, that, I can be happy over here. If I become a manager, I will be happy. If I become a CEO, I might be happy. If I become number one businessman, I'll be happy. So all these conceptions, what are there, we will get released from that. So that is what this text 2 says, that as Abrahma Stamba Paryanta Sarva Maya Mayam Jagata Satyam Satyam Punah Satyam Harer Nameva Kevalam. So I'll just conclude what I spoke, and then we'll recite this text 2 again, so that you can meditate on what we have discussed. So we have started by telling the example of how there is no difference between 1-story building and 50-story building if we are flying overhead. But if we are just walking, then there is a difference. And there are dualities in this world. There are poor, they are healthy, they are good looking, they're not so good looking. But if those are actually started consuming our consciousness, and if we start making that as our life purpose, if I'm poor, I want to become only rich. That is the only aim of my life. If we are going to that, what will happen is the miseries are democratic. They'll not say whether someone is poor or rich. They will come to anyone. The variety of problems will be different, but everyone will have a problem. So, Brahma Stamba Paryanta. So it is not that Lord Brahma is a Maya. Okay, Lord Brahma is a pure devotee. But if we start thinking that the change in my material position will bring me happiness, then that is Maya. So that is why we can achieve material things in our life, but for that we should not compromise on our spiritual life. Just like one success in one aspect cannot compensate failure in another aspect. Similarly, our material advancement cannot compensate our failure in spiritual advancement. So spiritual advancement is must and should. It is not an option, but it is a compulsory thing that we have to do it. And then only what will happen? We will start realizing that from the ultimate perspective, all these differences doesn't matter much. So what is more important is that we go beyond this world. Just like how Gajendra thought that, the actual problem is not this crocodile, but this whole material existence in which I am caught, that is my real problem. So similarly, when we chant, we actually go beyond all these small problems. We think that they are big. So just like when we are flying, all the big buildings look small. Similarly, when we are flying through the chanting of holy name, all these problems will look small and we will realize the actual problem. And we pray to Krishna, we love Krishna so that we can go beyond this world. So this is what it says. So we will just recite this and then we will go to the next language. Abrahma stambha paryantam sarvamayam jagata satyam satyam punah satyam hare nameva kevalam hare nameva kevalam